What's up, everybody? It's Miles Turner, the Indiana Pacers. You're listening to the Paceroos Podcast. Be sure to follow at Paceroos on Twitter.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Paceroos Podcast, the only Australian NBA podcast with a bias towards the Indiana Pacers, coming to you after probably the most mixed week in team history. We went 1 point shy of being the first team to ever lose by 40 and then win by 40. And Justin, I don't know what to think. It's been a really weird week, hasn't it?
Yeah, it definitely has. That Toronto game was obviously a stinker. I did sit there and watch it all. I don't know how. People might question my insanity watching that last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, but I did it. And yeah, obviously that bounce back win against Charlotte. But, oh, geez, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Charlotte looked dreadful.
Yeah, they were woeful. It's one of the worst defensive performances I've seen, coming off the heels of one of the worst Pacers performances I've ever seen. So it's been a week of worsts. I don't even know what to think after that Toronto game. At one stage, I was listening to the radio call, and Mark Boyle suggested that we might like to pluck a fan from the stands to get into the game, because that might be the thing to make the game a little bit more entertaining. Alex, did you watch the Toronto game like Justin did? Are you a sadist?
Yes, unfortunately, Justin, I'm in the same boat as you on that one. Don't ask me why as well. I watched that. It was just absolutely miserable. I think some of the starters were like, I know we hate plus minus on the show, but some of them were like minus 36 or something. It was just embarrassing from start to finish. I was actually watching the Lakers Celtics game, and then I tuned on Pacers. I was excited to get it going, and it was about 15-1. So I figured it wasn't going to be a good day from that point on, but it was good to get the bounce back win against Charlotte.
Yeah, I usually watch the full Pacers game after work, because obviously the Pacers play during the day in Australia, and that was a Monday game for us, and avoided it like the plague. Ended up watching about 3 condensed games instead, just to avoid the game. It was woeful, but I managed to watch quite a bit of the Charlotte game, and it was really impressive. It was great to see both big men submit pretty staggering numbers in different respects. Obviously, Domas was 1 assist shy of a triple-double, and yet another triple-double it would have been for him in a season full of them. And Miles was unbelievable with 8 blocks, 4 of which were in the first quarter. So, it's brilliant to see those two finally gel against big-name signing Cody Zeller and the Charlotte Hornets. I'm not a Hoosier. I'm sorry to the Indiana faithful. I'm not a big college basketball person, but anyone that calls for Cody Zeller to be on this team over any of the big men that we have on the roster, I think there's a term that we use in Australia called a one-eyed supporter, and you're clearly one-eyed Hoosier supporters, and I respect that. I respect, ride or die for your college, but I want Cody Zeller nowhere near this team. Justin,
just going in today, Adam.
I've had enough. I've had enough of these people saying that he would, he'd bring more toughness than Miles and Domas would. I think that's utterly ridiculous, and I'm not here for it. So I understand that's probably going to cause a little bit of controversy, but Justin, I'm bringing the heat today. That's it.
Yeah, I like it, and I've always agreed sometimes with some small contingent of Pacer fans. When there's trade rumors come up, it's always like, oh, George Hill or Eric Gordon. It's always the Indiana native players they want. So, which is fine. We all know you want a homegrown hero and things like that. But yeah, I don't think Cody Zeller will fit in this team. But yeah, speaking about the Charlotte game, guys, I really want to get both your opinions on Malcolm Brogdon. And your level of concern of his play lately. He did play somewhat okay against Charlotte, but are you guys worried about his output recently?
I am a little. I think his role is going to drastically change with Oladipo now back in the lineup. He was the primary ball handler. He's going to have to share those duties with Victor Oladipo, which is a little concern, because that he went from ball dominant to potentially playing off ball a little more than he's used to. But last year for Milwaukee, he was off ball, and he had a 50-40-90 season. Like he's clearly a brilliant off ball player. It's just that he's been asked to change his game and potentially been asked to change his game a second time back to what it was, a little bit more of what it was before. So I think I am concerned at the amount of time it's taking the two of them to gel. But it's not really that surprising, is it, Alex, that, we haven't had a healthy lineup all year, and, with the introduction of Oladipo back into the lineup, it's not surprising that two guys that had never played together before are taking a little bit of time to gel.
Yeah, well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think for him, it's the differences in roles. I think that's not just him. I think it's the same with a lot of players on this roster. When Oladipo comes back, everyone's role changes. So, early in the season, he was asked to take 15, 16 shots a game. Now he's only taking, 8 or 9. So, I think it's a mixture of that. And obviously he's been plagued with an abundance of injuries this year. He's had, a dislocated finger, his hamstring, his back. Then Miles accidentally concussed him earlier in the season. So he's had just about every injury in the book. Obviously, we're not here to make excuses, but yeah, it was good to see him get, 6 from 8 from the field, 2 from 3 from 3. So my biggest thing, though, is his free throw. It's just gone. They said a stat. He's still shooting about 90% on the season, but he's dropped from 98, I think it was, to about 80%. So, yeah, I don't know. Just all around, his shooting's gone down a little bit. I don't know if it's that finger or what it is, but hopefully he can get it back soon.
He just doesn't seem as comfortable, does he, Justin? Like he's lost that flow and that comfort that he had to his game, and I feel like he had a bit of that back in the Charlotte game. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. It's a strange feeling. It's it's good to see him get back at least with double-digit points, and he shot 6 of 8 from the field, which has been a bit of a rarity for him lately. I've lost a bit of confidence in his shot, to be honest. Sometimes when he pulls up from 3, I think. There was a stat that Fox Sports Indiana ran. I think he was one of his last 17 3-pointers made, which is just crazy. And like you mentioned, Alex, I did hear that free throw stat as well, and I was actually surprised he's still sitting at 90%. Because he has missed a few. But look, we've always said with Brogdon, it's playoff time how he's going to play. He's not a regular season player. We're going to need him shot big in the playoffs. So if he has a little downward spiral, I guess you want it in the months of Jan and Feb. But yeah, I hope he does pick it up soon.
Yeah, and for me, the backcourt is a little bit like the front court in that, we need to give Brogdon and Oladipo time to gel. We need to understand if it'll work, if it's going to work long term. And, from there, we need to judge it on how it's appearing in maybe another 20 games time, not now. And I feel like if we go through this season, we see some success in the playoffs, and then we see it really take off next season, great. If we flame out like as worst case scenario, Pacers Twitter's been tweeting about the last few weeks on the back of a few losses, and we struggle to start next year, then I think the team will have to look at the front court, but they'll also look at the backcourt combination as well and understand is it working, or do we need to review it? And I'm not saying that anything drastic needs to happen, but I think Malcolm Brogdon's been, a 6-man of the year candidate, so that there's options. It's not all lost if we decide to go a different way or if we decide to do something different. But I think you have to be realistic about this sort of stuff. And if by January, February next year it's still not working, well, something's got to give, doesn't it? Really, Alex?
Yeah, I think you're right. But, we preach patience a lot on this show, and I think that you mentioned Pacers Twitter, and they can jump to conclusions pretty quickly. I think, trade this player, fire this person. But for me, it's just getting this team healthy and seeing how they gel, like you mentioned. But even if we lose in the first round this season, I know Pacers Twitter is going to absolutely lose their minds, and obviously we'll be frustrated. But Justin, you've talked about this on the show. I think next season's the year that this Pacers team, gets a chance to make some noise. What have they played together? I mean, fully healthy. Have they played more than 2 games together this season?
Yeah, it's about 2 games.
I think exactly. So I think next season we obviously all have high expectations for the Pacers, but yeah, I think next season's the year where maybe make 1 or 2 moves to get an extra bench player or here or there. But I think this core group of 5 starters is the best we've had in years, and I think giving them time to work it out is the best thing they can do.
Well, one thing we don't have is the 6-man that we expected to have, because tragically Jeremy Lamb suffered a knee injury, a torn ACL. Believe he tore his lateral meniscus, sprained his knee as well. just
knocked
a
down with 2
horrific.
free throws.
Yeah, really
Mentality.
showing toughness to go to the line and knock down those 2 free throws. That was brilliant, but just a devastating injury for him, for the team, for everyone that looked at this bench unit and thought it needed his scoring punch, which clearly the team did. So, I think it's really disappointing. It's tragic for him because he's in the prime of his career. He's going to lose at least a year to a serious knee injury, and it's just a really hollow feeling, Justin, that of yet another player going down with a long-term injury, yet another shooting guard being injured early in the year.
Oh, yeah, it feels like being a Pacer fan, and we deal with this yearly, don't we? Obviously, Jeremy Lamb's not the star player that Granger, Paul George, or Oladipo were, but it's still, it hits home. I've torn my ACL, and I think I tweeted about it. How that man actually got up and hit 2 free throws is amazing. People don't realize it, and the wider sports fan just go, "Oh, NBA players are soft," and it's like, oh, You try and get up with a broken leg, walk to the free throw line, knock down 2 free throws. That takes absolute mental toughness. I was lying on the floor for 10 minutes when I tore my ACL. I couldn't even walk. So how Jeremy Lamb did that was incredible. But hopefully he goes all right. I know the rehab he's in for, it's extremely tough. It really takes a full another year after your rehab's done to feel like yourself again. Kind of what Oladipo's going through at the moment, I suppose. But the news about Lamb's terrible, but it brings up the news of the year that Pacer fans are now licking their lips at.
Yeah, look, with injury, and we hate to see injury, and we wish Jeremy Lamb all the very best in his recovery, and we hope he comes back when he's healthy and gives himself the time that he needs, but also gets back as soon as possible. With injury comes opportunity, though, and I think there's been 2 very distinct groups on social media over the last few days since the Lamb injury. There's one group that believes that this injury is an opportunity for Aaron Holiday to step up and get the minutes that a lot of people have assumed that he's deserved over the last few months, and he'll now be a key part of the rotation. That's clear from the Charlotte game. There's another group which includes, I think, to an extent, the 3 of us, but we're also realists that want Lance Stevenson back in this team. Alex, we've obviously talked about the lack of confidence that we've seen from the team over the last couple of weeks. We know that there's probably not a more confident player in the entire NBA world than Lance Stevenson. Are you still after a week on the bring Lance back side of things?
Whoa, man, it's tough. I was 100% on board, especially after the Raptors game and the devastating injury to Lamb. And he was teasing us, man. He was teasing us on Instagram. I know he knows exactly what he's doing by tweeting that stuff out. The picture we tweeted on the Paceroos account where it was a gif of him on the Pacers. We all thought he was going to sign. But you know what I saw? The reason that I'm now not so much on the Lance train is what I saw from Jakar Sampson against the Hornets. And I know it was against the Charlotte Hornets, but this man is Lance 2.0. That he brings energy every single night, and I just wish that he would get more playing time than he is because he's just wasted on the bench, man. He really is. He's an energy guy who can finish at the rim. He's going to defend 3 or 4 positions. So, I'd love to see him get minutes, but obviously, Lance and McConnell. Imagine that duo coming off the bench. That might be the most exciting and annoying for opposing teams duo to come up against.
No, I love it. I love the Sampson call. I think his energy, clearly he fits in well with what this team needs off the bench because we haven't been playing. We haven't got a genuine power forward on the roster, and we haven't been playing one really all year, aside from probably TJ Leaf really early in the season, the first couple of games. And, Sampson brings the rebounding, the energy, the dunks, like – You need that guy on your team, and Lance does those things, and I love Lance. Don't get me wrong, but I think I was caught up in the romanticism of getting Lance back on this team very early when Lance was shown on the big screen and interviewed, and when he said that he cried when he came into Bankers Life Fieldhouse. I think that we all got caught up in that, but I think now realism sort of set in to understand that I hope he gets another opportunity, but I don't necessarily think that it needs to be with this team. Justin, what do you think?
I'll admit I am biased. I love Lance. He is one of my favorite all-time pacers. I just love him. I love the energy he brings. He's someone that you don't have to stress out. Is he going to show up? Is he going to try his hardest? Like some players, you don't know if they're going to show up or they're going to get burnt. Yeah, I love players that, have a strong passion. Kind of like Russell Westbrook. I know Westbrook's not everyone's cup of tea, but he's got that mentality of a Westbrook where he's going to go at you. He's one of the only Pacer players that actually went up against LeBron and relished that challenge. So I love him. I think for Indiana, it's a no-brainer. Like I would sign him in a heartbeat. You're going to sell tickets. The crowd volume at games will, I reckon, near double. Indiana loves him. You imagine the playoffs if Lance is doing his antics with behind-the-back passes or doing the air guitar. Pacer Nation will be absolutely crazy. For me, it's a no-brainer. The other year when he came back for those last few games and then into that Cavaliers series, he was the turning point for our season. I think Pritchard said we wouldn't have made the playoffs without him. And then he was one of our best performers in that Cleveland series. So I can't see where it would hurt bringing him in for 10 to 12 minutes a game. I don't know how realistic it is. Like you mentioned, Alex, I know what Lance was doing those Instagram posts. He's very cheeky.
He knew exactly what he was doing.
There's no doubt about it. He knew what he was doing. He wanted everyone to tag Pacers and tag Pritchard saying, sign this man. So, for me, I love him. I know a lot of people close to me who have watched the Pacers just casually. Lance is their favorite player. They love him. And like I mentioned to you two, he makes losing fun. So, I would love him on the team. And, I think if all three of us woke up tomorrow and said the Pacers signed Lance Stevenson, I reckon there'd be a smile on all three of our faces.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if it happened, I would fully support it, 100%. I don't necessarily think it needs to be done, though. As I said, I think the extra opportunity for Holiday, the extra opportunity for Sampson is really important for this team moving forward. I think, particularly Aaron Holiday, I think this is the opportunity. This is the next sort of 20 games of his career. Aaron Holiday will either emerge as a future young shining star in this league, or he'll be an asset that is, tradable, or he won't be either of those things. And he'll be languishing on the bench. So he's got a great opportunity to show the Pacers organization that he is the future, or alternatively audition for other teams, because we know that with strong performance and with the recent talk about, trades and that sort of stuff, that Aaron Holiday will be mentioned in those trade rumors over the summer. It's inevitable, because TJ McConnell isn't necessarily going to be mentioned in those trade rumors. We're not going to trade Malcolm Brogdon. We're not going to trade Victor Oladipo or Jeremy Lamb. So it's going to be Aaron Holiday. If he performs, he's going to be the name that's thrown up in every fake trade involving the Pacers that's terribly weighted towards the other team, because that's what Twitter's all about. Yeah. So, Alex, do you think Aaron Holiday can step up? Do you have high hopes for the next 20 games?
Man, I truly hope he performs well, because, like I said, he has to step up, man. When you've got even Sumner, we haven't talked about Sumner yet. He's out. Oladipo's out. Hopefully he comes back next game. Lamb's out as well. So this is Aaron Holiday's chance to really step up and make a mark. The Pacers have talked about him a lot being, the future of this team. They didn't want to trade him last season. They didn't want to trade him at the draft. They didn't want to trade him at the deadline again. So, they've had calls from tens of teams around the league, and they've kept their faith in Aaron. So they obviously see a future where he's, a starter on this team. But, man, he's got to step up. I know, Justin, you're probably you are the biggest critic of him on the podcast out of the three of us. But yeah, if he can play well in these next 20 games and then leading into the playoffs, I think that'll be huge for his career.
A really interesting report came out, and I'm sure you guys saw it over the last 24 hours. Alex, I think you shared it with us, that the Pacers were, for what seems like the fifth trade deadline in a row, trying to obtain Aaron Gordon from the Orlando Magic. It seems like the Pacers have been enamored with Aaron Gordon for a few years now, and have been really excited to potentially get him on the roster somehow. I'm interested in your thoughts on this, Justin, and I guess two-part question. Firstly, is Aaron Gordon the type of player that you want on the Pacers, given who he would potentially be replacing? And second part of that would be that Aaron Gordon's natural sort of fit is power forward, so he would have to play with one of our big men. So if you had to choose one of Domas or Miles Turner to play alongside Aaron Gordon in a starting lineup, who would you choose?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And first thing, Alex, I want to thank you for saying I'm an Aaron Holiday critic, not a hater. So big
I could have
difference
thrown
there.
you under the bus there.
No, yes, I'm not a hater. I hope every pacer does well. So very well done. But hey, it's funny you mentioned bringing this up, Adam. I was actually just going to mention to you guys about the Aaron Gordon thing when we were talking about Aaron Holiday. And I was going to mention, would you trade maybe like an Aaron Holiday and Turner for Gordon? But now you've posed me the question, which is no, yeah, I didn't think you guys would. But look, Aaron Gordon's a tough one for me. I love his versatility. Like he's tough. I watch a lot of Orlando games because one of my best mates is a big Magic fan, but he's so inconsistent. Like there will be a game where he scores 30 and then there'll be like a 3-game stretch where he scores 7 points, 5 points, 4 points, and he just does nothing. Whether that's like Orlando, like where they're kind of known for a bit of a weird culture. Obviously, Oladipo played there and he didn't play well at all for Orlando. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I think, right, we're not trading Sabonis. Like there's no way. Domas is nearly the face of our franchise now. And I know that's a big call, but you see on all the ESPN graphics when we're actually nationally televised, I know it's a rare occurrence, but it's actually Domas is the player. So I think he's actually nearly on par with Oladipo now. Everyone knows Sabonis is a great player. He's obviously an all-star now. He's dropping triple-doubles. So, yeah, there's just no way we trade Domas. I don't know. The other year when Gordon was a free agent, I definitely wanted us to sign him, but I'm a bit more skeptical now because, from the games I've seen, he's very inconsistent. And
he's also really inefficient as well.
Yes, very inefficient. And, he's not going to win a dunk contest now, is he?
Very true.
For me, it's that you would have to involve Miles in that trade, and I just don't see Domas and Gordon. Defensively together as a front court just would kill me. I know like the Pacers can get anyone to play defense, but I just think we would have no rim protection. We would have no one that can protect the paint whatsoever. So if Gordon was a better offensive player, I would be more intrigued. Like if he was putting up better numbers, I should say.
I don't want to trade either big guy. I'm a unabashed fan of Miles, and I love Domas as well. But if I had a choice of who to trade for from the Magic and which big man to trade, I would be trading for Aaron Gordon, and I wouldn't be trading away Miles Turner. I'd be trading away Domas, and I'd be getting Jonathan Isaac.
Adam, you can't drop a bomb like that on me, man.
Look, I said what I said.
There goes
Adam.
My day tomorrow responding to everyone's Twitter responses.
True.
Oh my god, you cannot.
Sorry guys, it's late at night in Australia. I always drop bombs after 10 o'clock. That's what happens. That's what happens.
Look,
drop bomb.
I think Jonathan Isaac's very underrated in this league. Not many people know about him. He could be a future defensive player of the year. He puts up crazy stat lines, but I don't think Domas is going anywhere. Like you mentioned, Adam, in our message, very intriguing why we're going after a 4-man at the trade deadline. Like all the executives and all the rumors are Miles Turner or Domas might get traded in the off season. And it's like, well, why are we going after another one?
The only thing I can think of is that we wanted to make him our 6-man and we wanted to rotate him, Miles, and Domas together as the front court. That's the only thing that I can think of because you don't want to trade him.
Who did we offer?
Yeah, that's the tough one because looking down the list of salaries that we could potentially offer, there's not much that we could do to make it match outside of the starting 5.
Monta Ellis still in the books?
We're paying him 2.
Ellis.
We're paying him 2 this year and next from memory. So maybe we can put him and a few other little contract. No, I honestly, we don't own this first round pick, so we can't trade next year's. So I'd be, just like all these sorts of reports, I feel like it was a phone call of, is he available? Orlando probably said no, and then we hung up, and that was it. It was probably never even discussed at a level of here's what players would be involved. It's known that the Pacers have tried to go after this guy before. So Orlando were probably expecting the call. They probably screened Kevin Pritchard's call, picked up and said, no thanks again, Kevin, and then put the phone down again. Like, they knew exactly what was coming because we've tried to get him for what seems like the last 4 years. So I can't see us wanting to surrender a prized asset for Aaron Gordon because I don't think he's shown enough to be able to be worth that. I think Jonathan Isaac is worth far more if you're looking at trade assets, even coming off a horrific injury. I obviously rate him really highly. But, I can't see us trading for Aaron Gordon unless something drastic happens to one of our big men, i.e. We make a really clear choice to run with one over the other, which I hope we don't do. I hope we give this experiment at least another year before we make a call one way or the other. Alex, do you see any change happening in this summer to the rotation to bring in Aaron Gordon, or are you thinking that this sort of a move wouldn't come until the next trade deadline in 2021?
Yeah, the only possible way I would see something like that happening is if Miles requested a trade. I just, first of all, I can't see KP doing it.
Do you think he will, Alex?
Oh,
that
man.
Pause
it's tough, man, because it's like 50-50 for me. I know he always preaches that and I believe this. I don't think he cares that much. I think he cares more about winning than stats. I'll say that, but obviously at the end of the day, every player, no matter who they are, wants to put up shots. They want to score points, no matter who they are. It's as simple as that. So for me, I think Miles will play out his contract. I don't think he'll request one, but man. Obviously, I want to see him on the face for a long time, but as a Miles guy, I want to see him maybe go to a team where he can get up 12, 13 plus shots a game. So maybe he does request a trade, man. I don't know. What do you guys reckon?
Well, it's interesting that you say it. I mean, he's got 3 years after this year, so he's locked in long term. But I feel like if he continues to have the role that he has over the next 1 to 2 seasons, it would become really obvious that he's going to leave in free agency because I can't see him accepting that role for the next 2 to 3 years. I just can't see it happening. It's clear that he wants to be a bigger part of the offense. It's clear that he's an elite defensive player, one of the best in the league in terms of shot blocking and help defense, and a really good one-on-one defender as well. So, he's a really strong trade asset if he wanted to be traded. I'm sure he would fetch a king's ransom unless he, specified one particular team that he wanted to go to. And I want every Mavericks fan that's listening to shut up.
I do see that a lot, and Celtics fans as well.
I see. I see Bill Simmons, and I see any single Texas team wanting Miles to come quote unquote home. I also have heard a lot of Miami fans sing the praises of Miles, which scares me to death.
They want Oladipo. They want Giannis and Oladipo apparently.
They want everybody. I don't know how much money Pat Riley's salary cap has in it, but apparently it's more than everyone else's salary cap. So, I can't see it happening. Justin, do you see this experiment coming to an end in the next 12 months?
I really hope not. It would be interesting to know what offers we have got. But Miles, to me, like I see both sides of the argument. Obviously, I really like Miles as a person and what he brings. Like he got 8 blocks the other day. I do see the other side of it where sometimes, he probably needs to do a bit more. But I think it's fine to sacrifice, right? But you got to be willing to sacrifice. Like if we're going to be first round exits every year, then what is Miles sacrificing for? He says he doesn't mind it, but you're only going to sacrifice if you're making conference championships or NBA finals. And then that's what you can say is worth it. There's been plenty of people on championship or players on championship teams who have sacrificed, but they've got the ultimate glory. So not many players are going to want to sacrifice for a team losing in the first round. So I do get both sides of it. I really hope he doesn't request a trade. That would hurt my feelings as a Pacer fan. Which means nothing to anyone really, but
means something to us, mate. It's okay.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I just could imagine the reaction from Pacer Nation. The majority of Pacer Twitter is pretty tough on Miles, right? But then if it came out in the offseason, Miles Turner has requested a trade, I think the three of us know what Twitter would be like that day. So you got to keep everything in mind, and let's hope Miles stays a Pacer, and let's hope we can get deep into the playoffs and this is just a useless conversation.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's an interesting point you make. Like on a 55-win team, you've made a sacrifice, and on a 40-win team, you've been underutilized, basically. Like that's the difference in conversation here. So I think it's a fine line, and it just comes down to team success. Everyone is a little bit happier when they win. So if we can win, then we'll keep Miles. If we don't win and we don't give Miles the shots that he wants, I can't see him accepting that role long term. I think that's going to be a tougher conversation as we go forward, and there's going to be a lot of blame thrown around if that's the case. And I think all of us, the most unfortunate thing is that we're confident that if he does request a trade and go somewhere else, he's going to ball out for the next team that he plays for, if he ever plays for another one, which is going to be devastating for all of us, I think. But hopefully never, ever happens. We'll move on. We've got Portland tomorrow as our next game. So what do you guys see as the key to beating the Trailblazers, who are still without Damian Lillard?
Well, that's our win right there, isn't it? we always play terribly against the Trailblazers, which, I mean, they've been all right, but it doesn't make sense to me. We haven't won in Portland since 2017. Thankfully, this one's in Indy, and no Damian Lillard, so there's no excuse, man. If we have Oladipo back, which I believe we will we? Or
yeah,
not 100% sure yet? Yeah, if he's playing and Dame's not, you've got to win that game, especially at home, and our next 4 are away after that. So this is a big game on national TV, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
We've got Reggie in the house.
The GOAT.
Reggie Miller, yes.
The GOAT is in the building.
Yeah, we've got a 5-game road swing after that, our last big road trip of the season. I think other than that, we've only got a maximum of 2 games in a row on the road after that 5-game road swing. We've got the Cavs, the Spurs, the Bucks, the Bulls, and then the Mavs. So a tough stretch to start the month of March. But the Portland game, I think, will be a really important win heading into that 5-game road trip. And I think overall we should be aiming to go 3-2 in that road trip, with obviously playing Milwaukee, and I think either one of the Spurs or Dallas is probably going to be difficult. And then we come back home for a Boston game, which will be even better. So, yeah, it's going to be particularly tough, I think, over the next couple of weeks as we go on that road swing. Justin, what do you think we can expect out of the Portland game and the subsequent road swing we've got after that?
Yeah, fingers crossed we can win, but I have no clue when we're going to show up and when we're not now, to be honest. So I think us three are usually pretty good at knowing within the first 2-3 minutes how the Pacers are going to go. Like, we'll always text each other saying, oh, wow, they look good tonight, or geez, it's going to be tough to win this one. So I think you can usually tell within the first few minutes if the team switched on and energy levels and everything like that on the defensive end. So look, with no Lillard, and I'm pretty sure no Drummond for the Cavaliers. Geez, that's weird to say. We should be able to win both. And, you know, we mentioned it all together today. There's that, you know, Miami have been losing some games. Philadelphia's now without Embiid and Simmons for a while. We do have a chance to rise up in the standings. So, it's going to be go time the next 5-10 games. I'd say we're going to know what seeding we're roughly going to be after the next 10 games.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really pivotal stretch of the season, and you know, we've spoken about it before, that you never want to really flirt with form. You never want to get to a point where you're trying to get a slightly lower seed, but gee, it'd be nice to miss the Bucks in the second round if we could help it. So that 4-5 slot that would subsequently play the Bucks after the first round is not necessarily something that would be fun to come up against Giannis in a 7-game series. I think that's a scary proposition at the best of times, and with this team not having a particular player who can, you know, we can put on Giannis, it's even worse. So
Lance.
Yeah, just bring Lance out there. Maybe the answer is Jakar Sampson. You never know. At the moment, as if the season ended today, we would play the Celtics in round 1. And then we would play the winner of Toronto-Brooklyn in round 2. Are you guys confident against the Celtics? Alex, start with you.
That is a massive no for me. I think, yes, that there's the argument made that Celtics don't really have the true center, but man, they would just switch Theis onto Sabonis. He's a decent defender. He's been balling out this year, and we just don't have anyone that can guard their wings. Like, our perimeter defense, I know I've banged on about it, but it's been below par over the last couple of months, and we just don't have the offensive firepower to keep up with the Celtics. They have 4 guys that can put the ball on the floor and drop 20 plus every night. Jason Tatum, I don't know if you guys have been watching. He's been
on fire.
He's been insane, just dropping 30 plus every single night. So that would be the biggest concern for me. Who would be guarding Tatum? Sabonis would have to either guard him or Jaylen Brown. So, man,
I feel like
would
for
be a
Tatum,
tough matchup.
Tatum's announcing himself over the last couple of weeks as a superstar. I think
Yeah.
every player has this little stretch of time where they go from, he's a nice player, he might turn into a superstar, or he's an all-star, he's a good player, and then has a stretch of a couple of weeks where everyone just sits back and says, whoa, this guy is unbelievable. And Tatum has had exactly that stretch over the last week or so. He's been insane. He's been unconscious and he's stroking the ball with confidence from 3. He's just scoring in bunches. I mean, there's probably the only player playing at a higher level of scoring in the league right now is Bradley Beal, who had those back-to-back 50-point games. I mean, he lost his. But once again, he's playing a lone hand. Like, it's a lot easier to it's a Devin Booker 50, not a legitimate sort of a playoff 50. I would say, even though the Wizards are only in 9th position. But yeah, Tatum's been just insane. Are you guys concerned or not concerned? Are you aware, or do you believe the Clippers are going to be struggling from now on? Do you think they're not as good as advertised?
I've been watching a bit of the Clippers, and I know everyone says, they're coasting until the playoffs, but I think they're heading into some scary territory. I watched them today against the Phoenix Suns, and geez, they were lucky to escape from that game. And they also lost to the Sacramento Kings at home the other day as well. I think there's some scary times for them. Paul George hasn't been playing too much, and Kawhi.
What a shame.
Yeah, I know. It's yes, very funny, but I don't know if they can just switch it on come playoff time. I know that everyone's going, we did it with Toronto last year. Kawhi came in and won a Finals MVP and won us the championship, so he'll do it again for the Clippers. But I'm not so sure. Right now, if you're putting Lakers versus Clippers head-to-head, I'm taking the Lakers all day, every day. I just think with LeBron and AD, they're going to overpower the Clippers right now. So it will be interesting. I know the Morris pickup was big for the Clippers, and then Lakers ended up signing his brother a few days later. But I would say now Milwaukee a favourite, and then Lakers are a number 2 for me.
How good would it be if they switched jerseys at halftime?
Would anyone notice?
No, I
Probably
don't think
not.
so. I don't think anyone would notice. Unless they've got different tattoos to each other, I think everyone would just be like, why is Markeith all of a sudden a little bit better? So, Alex, I've got a question for you, because, Justin, you treated that one very well. We'll stay on the Western Conference. We'll stay on the Lakers. It's currently, I guess, 3 teams that I would say that are in hot contention for the 8th seed. I don't necessarily count Sacramento and San Antonio, but Memphis, Portland, and the Pelicans. Who would you most want to see the Lakers face in the first round, and why?
I said Memphis to this question about a month ago, but I'm going to switch tunes now because Zion Williamson is putting on a show, and he might be one of my favorite players to watch in the league now. He is just bullying grown men. He's putting up, 20-odd points every single night. He's putting up better numbers than LeBron was in his rookie season. So, I mean, this kid is just incredible. And him versus the Lakers, they were competitive the other day. They almost got the win in LA. So, I think it would probably be the Lakers would probably win in 4 or 5. But I think it would be one of those series where there's no blowouts. I think it would be a close game, every one. And Zion would have about 20 highlights. And I know Bleacher Report would absolutely froth at that series. So for their sake, I'll go for that one.
It'd be unbelievable. I mean, Ingram's been balling out. He's going to get a big deal from the Pelicans, a big extension, especially given Zion's he's still got 3 years left with his rookie deal. And I'm really interested to see what the Pelicans do in the offseason with all the assets they got from the Davis trade, as well as Drew Holiday. There's talk that maybe his time's coming to an end in that team. Lonzo Ball, interesting to see whether they choose to keep him or not, and what they do at the guard positions, because I'd say that those are the ones that are a little shaky. They've got sort of 4 players for those 2 spots. So what are they going to do there? they've got a lot of assets, they've got a lot of players, and they've got two clear all-star caliber players in Zion and Brandon Ingram. And we all know that if you can add that third all-star, that's when the team goes to a different level. So I can see Zion making the all-star team next year. I can see Ingram still, staying around that level. And they've just got to really add that extra guy. And I'd say that once again, Bradley Beal's name's going to come up, I'd say, in the summer. But I'd love to see the Pelicans add a third all-star. Justin, they're really fun to watch.
Yeah, they are. They're probably one of the most popular teams in the league now, with all the youngsters they've got. And while we're on the Western Conference, Adam, I thought I'd just quickly mention the Utah Jazz. In particular, yeah, really struggling. In particular, Mike Conley, because I know another Indiana native, like we were talking about earlier in the show, and a lot of Pacer fans wanted him over Brogdon, I do remember. And to put it not lightly, he's been god-awful this year. He has been terrible. I think the Utah Jazz moving forward have actually benched him and are going to start Royce O'Neal over him. So I was just going to get both your thoughts on Mike Conley, because I'm sitting here thanking the Lord he is not a Pacer right now.
I think for me, it seems like the case of a guy that was just on one team for so long that he probably doesn't really know how to play anywhere else. And it just feels so foreign for him and so out of place that it's extremely difficult for him to be able to put on another jersey and be as productive as he was in Memphis. He was beloved in that franchise. He sort of called that place home, obviously. He was him and Marc Gasol were pretty intent on being one club players, and that was taken out from under him when Gasol got traded, and then he obviously got traded in the offseason as well. Alex, what are your thoughts on Mike Conley?
Man, that's tough. I'm actually a big Conley fan. I like that Grizzlies team a lot back in the day, but yeah, like Justin said, he is not being good. I think he's averaging about 12 points a game as a starter. So, I mean, he's been shooting poorly. He isn't putting up numbers at all, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a bit of both. Maybe it's the system and the fact that he's just aging. So, I mean, was that Jazz team better off keeping Rubio? That's the question.
Oh, your boy.
Well, wow. Yeah, you guys know I hate him, so if I'm complimenting Ricky Rubio, you know something's wrong.
Yeah, Mike, pick it up. You don't want any more compliments for Ricky Rubio on this show. That's a disgrace. Yeah, I'm not editing that one out, mate. You're gonna have to cop that one. Yeah, on that note, it's a good thing we didn't trade for Mike Conley, despite the calls for it from the Indiana faithful wanting another local guy, which I understand, but as we said earlier, he's really struggling. So predictions, we've got the Portland game. Alex, do you see a 40-point win or a 40-point loss against Portland?
I'm going to go the 40-point win for that one, and then I'm going to go 40-point win against the Cavs as well. I'm going ultra optimistic, even though that never works out for me. And we last time I said we were going 2-0, we went 0-2. So
love it.
Bloody oath. Hopefully we go 2-0 this time.
Can't get any worse than last time. Justin, 40-point win or 40-point loss?
Sorry, I cannot say 40-point win. I reckon it's going to be a 6-point win and a 12-point win.
I like it.
Against the Cavs. I like it. I think, I think it's going to be close against Portland. I think there's an opportunity for us to blow out the Cavs, but they are plucky. So we're just going to have to make sure that we put the foot on the throat really early on. But I can definitely see us going 2-0 the next two games, which heading into that 5-game road trip is sorely, sorely needed. We appreciate all the interactions on Twitter. Guys, thank you very much for listening to the Paceroos Podcast, and we will see you next time.